We'll start with the prayers. Om Sahana Bhavato Sahanao Bhunakto Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma Viddhishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We are studying the Panchadasi by Swami Vidyaranya Swami. He was one of the great acharyas, the teachers of the Vedas. The Vedas are very ancient, and throughout the history of India, we find several teachers of these Vedas. Vidyaranya Swami was an outstanding teacher. About 800 years ago, he lived. And he taught the students by writing books. One of the favorite books which he wrote was Panchadasi. So a teacher, when he writes a certain book, what he is doing is he is taking the contents of the Upanishads and trying to explain what is the content of the Upanishads to the students. So Panchadasi is a very beautiful text of 15 chapters by which Swami Vidyaranya is able to bring the essence of the Upanishads. Like, for example, Chandogya Upanishad, Aitareya Upanishad, Katha Upanishad, they all teach us about the essence of the entire creation. It is not easy to understand that essence. So the teachers have evolved different methodologies to teach that essence to the students so that the student can get moksha. Moksha is one of the purusharthas, one of the goals of human beings. It's a very big goal. So in order to achieve this goal, what are the steps? How do we achieve this? Because this is an inward journey. It is to do with our mind. It is to do with the core of our personality, which is Atma. So how do we reach that core? There are 15 chapters, there are 15 ways in which Swami Vidyaranya has been able to teach the students. And we are teaching the 10th chapter, we are here learning the 10th chapter, Nataka Deepa Prakaranam, consisting of 26 verses. We are in the 3rd verse now. We have seen the first 2 verses. The first verse is a very important verse. In every chapter, Swami Vidyaranya always brings out the essence right in the beginning. Every chapter, if you open up Panchadasi, you will find every chapter he will tell you the core of the Upanishads. He tells you straight in the first verse itself. So when you study the first verse, you know what he's teaching is nothing else but the essence of the Upanishad. And what we are learning here is how to unravel the Upanishad. By doing that, we are trying to understand our own nature. When we study Vivek Chudamani, when we study Tattvabodha is the simplest and the easiest text which is taught to us in the beginning. Very simple verses in Tattvabodha. Now that whatever we study in Tattvabodha is still the essence of the Upanishads. What we study in the Gita is also the essence of the Upanishads. And what we study here is also the same essence. Jiva Brahma Aikyam. That is the essence, the core of the individual and the core of the totality. individual and totality. That is what we see in this universe. There is an individual being, I, and there is a total. All the beings put together would constitute the total, which we call it the prapancha or samashti. So in the first verse itself, he taught us that the supreme self, that means there is a creator and he was existing before the creation as the pure awareness, as the pure consciousness. Very important. This is how Chandogya Upanishad starts. This is how Aitareya Upanishad starts also. And the same way Vidyaranya starts in this chapter, and also in the 5th chapter, he will start in the same way. There is something, there is a being, a pure being, which is our real nature, which is called as nirupadika nature, without the upadi of the body and the mind. Body and mind is a medium. So without this body and mind, there is a pure being, which is the core of our personality. Now that is being described in the first verse as the pure self, supreme self. And what are we today? We are with the upadi. Upadi means the body and mind. The same thing is explained in the Aitareya Upanishad. In our meditation, we will be studying the same individual supreme being without the upadi, with the upadi. With upadi means with this body and mind. Body mind exists for a certain period of time and it goes away. It has certain experiences and then it leaves. But the supreme being, the pure, limitless consciousness, the pure being continues. That pure being is eternal. It continues. Now that pure being, before the projection of the world, existed in a pure form, as pure awareness. How do we also try to experience that, or what is there a sample by which we can know what is the nature of this pure being? Very easy. Upanishads, Brahmadanika Upanishad, Prashna Upanishad, Mandukya Upanishad tell us our sleep state. You find out who I am in my sleep state. What is my nature? There is a nature of ours which we don't know. The sleeper is somebody who is different. He is ignorant. But beyond the sleeper, there is a knower of the sleeper. And that is the pure being. The knowingness is given a great importance in our Upanishads, which is called as the awareness. Knowingness is nothing else but awareness. So in the first verse of this chapter, it was said that through the power of Maya, he became the entire world. And then he entered as a jiva and started experiencing the world. Similarly, he enters all the jivas. When he enters means it is a reflection of that pure consciousness. Now we are going reverse. Our reverse journey is from the body level. We have to go to the reflected consciousness. From the reflected consciousness, we have to merge with the original consciousness. So Swami Vidyaranya starts from the pure being, how it enters as Chidabhasa, how the whole world is created by that pure being. Now from the world, we are going back. We are trying to understand how to go back to our core nature. So that was the first verse. And the second verse onwards, it's the second verse says that that pure being became all the bodies, all the upadhis. In the case of the deities, it is a superior being. The same pure being became the deities in the different lokas. And it also became the human being. And the human being worships that deities and the supreme self. That was said in the second verse. In the third verse, which we are seeing, the importance of inquiry is given in the third verse. And it is not easy that we start inquiring about our nature. Because there are millions of people in this world who don't even ask this question. Very few, they come to this level of studying the Panchadasi. Very few. Many study Bhagavad Gita. Nobody comes to the level of Upanishads and Panchadasi. It's very difficult, very rare. And he says that this is because of many janmas. What he is very clearly telling us now is because of our samskaras, which we have gathered in our previous births, we have that samskara, that impressions in us, by which we are able to ask this question and pursue this knowledge. That is the essence of the third verse. With this introduction of the first three verses, then the fourth verse is extremely important, and the fifth verse we'll see today. But where we stopped last week was the third verse. We will continue where we stopped. Bahunam janmanamante jnanavan mam prapadhyate vasudeva sarvamiti samatma sudurlabha. In Bhagavad Gita, in the 7th chapter, the same meaning of why people get into this inquiry is given. The same what Vidyaranya is saying in the third verse, it's repeated in the Bhagavad Gita. What does it say in the Gita? Many births are there by which you and I have passed. And we have become wise and we have come to this level because of our punyam. And by gaining this knowledge, we get fulfillment in life and we reach the Lord. This pure consciousness is called as the Lord. It is called as God in religious terms. It's called as reality. In philosophy, in Advaita philosophy, it's called as reality. So don't get confused between reality, awareness, consciousness. They all mean the same thing. They all mean one entity which is there, which is common between the jiva and the world. There is one common element between the two. Between the individual and the totality, between the vyashti and the samashti, there is one common. What comes out of this, both this is just one common awareness principle. And that is what we are trying to understand. Keno Upanishad was trying to describe this oneness. How does it describe? It says, Shrotrasya Shrotram, Manaso Manoyad. Vachohi vacham, so pranasya pranaha. Very beautiful description of this one reality. It is the ear of the ear, it is the eye of the eye, it is the mind of the mind. That is how the Keno Upanishad describes. In Aitareya Upanishad, we will be studying the same mantra of Keno Upanishad in another way in meditation today. Very beautiful, very, very powerful meditation. So there is something behind the eyes. There is a knowing principle. The knower behind the eyes, the knower behind the ears, the knower behind our hands, knower behind the speech. I know I am speaking. You know you are hearing. What is that knowing principle? And that is what is called as Atma. Through Adhyatma Yoga, which is the path of going inward into our own personality, we learn to watch this life as a neutral witness. I am the awareness principle. The world is being seen by the eyes, heard by the ears, and so on. But I am the awarer. Normally, our mind, which is the ego, appropriates the glory of Atma and says that I am hearing, I am seeing. When I say I am hearing, I am seeing, it is true to a certain extent because it is the body, it is the mind. But is it the ultimate truth is what we have to ask this question. And then we come to realize the Atma, which is the one which is behind. Due to a mistake, which is called as adhyasa, we end up taking the body as the consciousness principle. We have to separate the consciousness from the body and own up the consciousness as independent entity. So the body's actions, seeing, hearing, are all taking us to the source. They are clues. The eyes are seeing form and color, but there is a power behind that eyes. And when we see this consciousness principle, we recognize that we are free from the eyes, free from the mind, free from all the actions. This consciousness drops the mind as the self and discovers its free nature. That is what is called as Adhyatma Yoga. In Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, the methodology of doing this is explained as you must reflect upon it. So you should reflect, you should hear about this consciousness, you should reflect. Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. Chapter 4 of Brihadaranyaka Upanishad gives us the methodology. And that is what is Swami Vidyaranya trying to tell us. Do the inquiry of who you are by proper method. And here in this particular mantra of Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, the methodology used was, the teacher says, find out what do you love as the most important thing in this life. Most important. Is it the house I live? Is it the things I own? Is it the car I own? Is that very important, or is it that consciousness which is very important? The most important for us is the Atma, which lies behind the body. And that love we have for the Atma is unconditional love. That is what Yajnavalkya explains to his wife. His wife is stunned. She says that I thought I'm loving you. But what Yajnavalkya is teaching his wife is you are loving your own Atma. You love your Atma, therefore you love things around you. So he gives her a clue. What is unconditionally loved by all of us? It is only one thing, and it is the same for all of us. You unconditionally love the pure consciousness awareness. You will do anything to be happy, to be in sync with your love for Atma. You drop everything in the world, like you drop everything and go to sleep. Why? Because you want to be with yourself. Till you're falling asleep, you're wondering, oh, you're counting the money, you're counting, doing all things in life, thinking that they are all real. But a time comes you want to drop everything, and this facility exists in us. This is called as Tivra Vairagyam. We drop everything and go to sleep. Similarly, we have that facility in us to drop our mind and realize the truth. Normally, a person is a bundle of raga and dvesha, nothing else. Who, if you really want to describe yourself, or you just take a personality and say, I want to describe my daughter. She is somebody with certain raga and dvesha. That's the bottom line. I am somebody with likes and dislikes. If I remove the likes and dislikes, if you ask the question, who am I, you will not be able to answer. So the personality is nothing else but raga and dvesha, which is connected with the mind. I, with the likes in my mind, become a personality. I become a teacher, I become a doctor, I become a lawyer. These are my likes. I do these things for my livelihood or to earn money. I like doing these things. Or I don't like. So our whole life is governed by likes and dislikes, raga and dvesha. And if I drop this raga and dvesha and ask the question, who am I without this likes and dislikes? Invariably, you will come to Atma. All of us, it is beyond this intellect we reach our core nature. So when we are seeing the truth, it is not just gazing. When we are listening to Shravanam, is not just pure listening, like you listen to a music. Shravanam is you put your mind behind to understand what is the teaching. You listen with an help, with the effort to assimilate the essence of the truth. That is what is called as Shravanam. And a systematic Shravanam is very important to understand Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya, Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. This is said in Brahma Jnana Valli, which I have taken before to the Wednesday group. In this particular text, in the 20th verse, the whole essence of the entire Upanishads study is given. In two lines, Shankaracharya has described what is ultimate truth. The ultimate truth is Brahman, which is this consciousness, which is this awareness, which is the reality. Everything else is mithya, false. False doesn't mean, it only means it doesn't have an independent existence. The world is mithya means it doesn't exist without me, the consciousness. If you take me as consciousness, you can easily understand this particular statement of Shankaracharya. If I am the consciousness awareness principle, then there is no world without me. And that is what is the knowing principle. So the content of me is nothing but this consciousness. And that is what we need to munch from the Shastras. We need to understand the essence, contemplate on it. Whenever we do listening, we must have the attitude to understand what the scripture is saying, and we should not have an attitude of judging them. Our intellect has a normal tendency to judge everything. When we come to scriptures, we should not be judgmental. We should accept it. When Brahma Satyam is said, we accept Brahmana Satyam, and then we start analyzing, how can I be this Brahman? How can I, this individual, be this awareness? That is our attitude. That should be the attitude of learning. If you go with that attitude, you will reach the truth and you will be free from fear. Because pure consciousness, there is no fear in it. And you will have no desires in pure consciousness. You will be fulfilled. When are you called a fulfilled person? I'm full, I'm complete, I'm contented, I'm shantaha. When will you say that? When you realize that your nature itself is that. That is the only way this truth is described. Chandogya Upanishad in this mantra, 6th chapter, describes the truth, Tattvamasi, as the subtlest in this entire creation. This consciousness is the subtlest. The body is the grossest. The mind is still subtler. Prana is subtler. But what is the subtlest? Subtlest means it doesn't have any form. The form is gone. The three elements, earth, water, fire, they are called as Murta Prapancha in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. They are with form. One can perceive the fire, one can smell the earth, one can feel the water. Air and space are Amurta Prapancha, invisible. Amurta means formless. I cannot see air. I cannot see the space. They are formless. And what is Atma? Atma is beyond space, the subtlest. That is why Shvetaketu was taught that the subtlest in creation is Tattvamasi. You are that. You are that awareness. You are that consciousness. And again, the Shvetaketu goes and asks his father, explain to me, what is this? What is this? I'm so curious to know. 9 times it was described to him. 9 times. There are 9 examples given in Chandogya Upanishad, 6th chapter. Beautiful section of the Mahavakya analysis. For all senior students, I would recommend you must spend time to learn the Mahavakya and the commentary by Shankaracharya, if possible. We will be doing that in our study, maybe in about 2 months' time. Roughly 6 to 8 weeks. I am planning to take that after this 10th chapter. Because I hope we can do that. But I'm trying to create some notes for it now. Chapter 5 of the Panchadasi. So to overcome our attachment, now we have attachment, we have raga and dvesha. How do I reach this truth? One of the methods which is given by the Shastra itself is japa. A daily japa of 5 minutes. 10 times you chant Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Say 10 times. By which what happens is my mind becomes focused. Instead of wandering in the world, my mind learns to focus. It becomes concentrated, focused. When I, with a focused and a concentrated mind, listen to the scriptures, my own mind will be able to understand the nature of Atma. Very, very important. This is a principle which is taught to all the Vedanta students. Today, if I say, no, I'm not able to understand this Atma, suppose you say, many of us, we all say, even after 25 years of study, we say, no, I'm still not very clear of this Atma. It is normal. It is nothing abnormal. But a time will come when you will say, especially wait till the Mahavakya portion is taken up, you will be able to realize the truth for sure. Because the Mahavakyas have the power. Tattvamasi is not a simple sentence. Prajnanam Brahma is not a simple sentence. Aham Brahmasmi is not a simple sentence. I am Atma Brahma is not a simple sentence. These are all very, very powerful. There is a lot of teaching behind this. The whole Veda is put in this seed form. We have thumb drives today, we have in the cloud, we have all our things stored. So if you want to know where is all the essence of the Vedas, they are stored in one place. Which is that iCloud? It is this Mahavakyas. They have the seed of what the Vedas themselves want to reveal. And when they get revealed to each one of us, we become free. And what is it which troubles us is nothing but our mind. It is the tormentor in us. It is the thief which takes away, which robs the peace of our nature, which is the real nature of Atma. Inside us, there is always a tussle. Whenever I sit in meditation, this is what is going on. There's a tussle between the real nature of Atma as peaceful, confident, cheerful, self-existing awareness and the mind. The mind pulls us towards the world. It wants to think about all our possessions. It wants to think about all what we want to do tomorrow. It wants to think about the world. So in one side, the mind is going extrovert. Another side, Upanishad is telling us, drop the external world, go introvert, take the torch of Panchadasi and see who you are. Maya is our mind. And there are two meanings of Maya, which you should note. One is, in many places in the Upanishad, Maya is described as the power of sustenance, creation, and withdrawal. That means the Shakti in this awareness to create the whole universe, project for us the entire universe every day for us. We don't realize this. There is a Shakti in this world, which is what we call as Ishvara, Paramatma. Paramatma is every day giving us this world of projections. Huge. And our mind is nothing else but a small portion of this. This is one meaning of Maya. The second meaning of Maya is, in the individual level, the ignorance about our own self, about our pure consciousness is called as avidya, mula avidya, or ignorance. That is also called as Maya, which is the karana shariram, or which is what is called as the unmanifest condition, which is the root, the seed state of the entire creation. That is all the avidya, the nature of ignorance. So these are the two meanings of Maya. Very important to understand what is Maya, because many times, sometimes Maya used as a power of this Brahman. Sometimes it is taken as Mula Vidya. That means at the individual level, when we look at it, we take it as the seed of the whole universe. And in Mandukya Upanishad, which we did last in our last study, Maya was supposed to be that Karana Sharira, the seed state, the sleep state, from where the entire creation comes up. So once this ignorance is dispelled for the individual, for a jiva, when he's doing this study, what happens is, through the study of these texts, that ignorance goes away, gets dispelled. Slowly it happens. And there is nothing new which is accomplished. Though whatever is our nature gets revealed to ourselves. So it is not accomplished by any special action. Ultimately, Atma is realized as our own true nature. Like what? Like the mirror. Suppose you clean the mirror starts reflecting your face. Suppose the mirror is covered full of dirt and you keep it in front of you, you cannot see your face. Our mind is like that. Today, our mind is extrovert. When I start looking inside, I see only all the thoughts. Then I slowly try to remove these thoughts one by one, and slowly start cleaning it up. How do I do this cleaning process? Is by listening. The cleaning inside happens by Shravanam of the Vedas. So when we are studying these texts, what happens is, I'm cleaning my mind. Indirectly, I'm doing it. This is what our teachers have taught us. I am also doing the same. Listen, Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasnam. This is the process of purifying the mind. And when I do this, what happens is, I get fulfillment in this life. When I understand my nature is this pure being, which was described in the very first verse of this 10th chapter as the pure being is the real truth of this Yashti, and it is the truth of the Samashti. There is no other truth except awareness, consciousness. See how deep we are able to go into these verses because of Vidyaranya. When he does all this teaching, this is the way he taught his students. What we are learning is the same process, and we also try to learn, use these mantras and try to reach our essence. So that is the end of the third verse. So I told you about the first verse, which is the most important in the 5 verses. The second verse says that same consciousness is there in all the beings, whether it is all the lokas, all the jivas, and all the 14 lokas have the same consciousness as their core. It was there in the past as the core, it is there as the core in all the living beings today, and it will be the core in all the living beings in the future. That does not change. That is the changeless self. Vivarta upadana karanam. When we say in Vedanta, Vivarta upadana karanam, it is that. The changeless cause of this universe is consciousness. Now, let's go to the 4th verse. Here, Vidyaranya now tells us what is bondage and what is freedom. Because this is where our inquiry really starts. Am I a limited self, limited to this body? Or am I the ever-free Atma? If I am the limited self in this body, then I look at duality. Duality means I look at the body as a separate entity and the whole world as another entity. This vision of duality causes samsara. That is what he's saying in this fourth verse. Advayam ananda rupasya satvayatvam chadukkitaha. Sorrow is because of Dvaita. Anytime you want to see why I'm suffering from sorrow is I am now identified with my body or identified with my mind. Indirectly, you must learn this. Bandha proktaha sarupena sthitir muktir iti yate. So what it means is our bandha, the state of bandha has to be cut. How do we do that? How do we reach our liberation, which is our real state, which is our original condition of the pure being? That is through this inquiry. So perception of duality is samsara. That is the bondage, which is what is talked in this fourth verse. That is what you should understand as the essence of this verse. And what is freedom? Abiding in our pure self is liberation, which is what we are trying to do in our meditation. We are trying to reach that core of our personality, dropping all the upadhis. The medium of operation is this body. Without this medium, I do exist. And that pure existence is pure consciousness and pure bliss. And that is what is called as the self. I am trapped in this body, mind, world gives me pain. This identification with the body is ignorance. The moment I get up in the morning, I am automatically having this adhyasa, superimposition, automatically for all of us. If I don't have this superimposition, and I can cut off the superimposition at any time at will, what happens is I have learned the technique of reaching my self at any time I want. That is what is the benefit of the study of the Upanishads. I can drop the identification whenever I want. I can enter into duality whenever I want. That is the flexibility a jnani has. Udasinavat. Udasinavat means he is in his self, abiding in his self. Prajahati yada kaman atman eva atmana tushtaha. He is contented in his own self by abiding in his real nature. When he abides in the real nature, there's no duality. So this Atma Jnanam, it is a knowledge. It is ultimately what we are learning is the nature about our real self. That's all. It is a nature. We are not creating Atma. We are not producing Atma. It is there. Only we are trying to remove our identification, a wrong identification with this body. Adhyasa is being removed. And by doing this, what we are doing is there is no rope snake. Rope snake in the rope snake example, you should remove the rope means the Atma. Snake is just a projection of my mind that I am bound. So by vichara, with the help of the Shastras, when I do the inquiry, my sorrow is gone. I don't need to run away from the body or mind or the world to solve this problem of samsara. I have to understand my nature and falsify the entire anatma. That is the process of freedom, liberation. Knowing that substratum, knowing that consciousness, it solves the problem of sorrow. This is what Arjuna, Lord Krishna did for Arjuna. He gave this knowledge of pure consciousness in the second chapter. Jayate mriyate va kalachit. Never is this self not there. It is always there. It is not born. It doesn't die. Know this consciousness as your true nature, Arjuna. This is what is the essence of Bhagavad Gita. The same essence here Vidyaranya is trying to teach us. Very beautiful way in which how our bondage gets broken, how our bondage is only an identification. I stop identifying. And when I say stop identifying means I just say that this mind of mine is a false entity. Ego is a false entity. And what is my real nature? Atma is my real nature. Ego will have, as soon as the body wakes up, the ego will be there. It will go through the motions of whatever the body has to go on. Suppose the body has to get married, the body will get married. Mind will get into certain situations because the birth of the body is there. The arrow has been shot. Prarabdha karma will be for the body. Whatever experiences I have to undergo, I will undergo, it will go away. That's all. But I won't have any more rebirth because I know my true nature as consciousness. So the real key, what is the real key? The real key, master key is whenever we go through this duality of experiences, realize that they are false, they are appearances. The truth is me, the pure awareness, which is always asangaha. It does not have any connection with whatever experiences I undergo. This nature of Atma, we must be very clear. What is Atma? Atma is the pure awareness. In its presence, everything is going on. Atma is the pure consciousness, the pure screen. And in that pure screen, appearances come of the body, world. Some situations come in life, experiences come, experiences go. They are of a lower nature. I am the real, true, pure awareness consciousness. So when I look at the inquiry from the view of trying to understand what is the cause of this bondage, that karanam, that cause of bondage, the cause of that inquiry process leads me to the clay vision, leads me to the Brahma vision, leads me to the Atma vision. Through the karyam. Karyam is what? The body mind, which is the pot. Karyam is the pot. It is the body mind appearances, which is the binding factor. It is an effect. It is non-different from its cause. The cause is the pure consciousness. Or in another way, if you want to put it, you can say ignorance is the cause of this entire projection of the body mind as the self. And Advaita Ananda Rupam is my real nature. And it is Advaitam. Advaita means what? Non-dual. Non-dual means there are no two consciousness. Consciousness is always one. That is why there are no two in Advaitam. This is the difference between Other schools of philosophies like Nyaya, Vaiseshika, Yoga, they all feel that there are many Atmas. Whereas in Advaitam, we say there is only one Atma, one consciousness, one reality. In this reality, from this reality, the entire projection of the world happens. Entire world resolves. Entire world is sustained. There is only one principle, and that is that pure being. If I come to know that being, I am free. Because I will know when the body, when we stop identifying the body as the self, like even in the sleep state, it is a natural process. I am not identified in my sleep with the body. With this body, am I identified? No. In sleep state, there is no emotions. There is no sorrow. There is no otherness in sleep state. But am I there or not? Yes, I am there. So why don't you accept the fact that that is your real nature? That is the way we have to inquire. In that sleep state, is there Dvaitam or Advaitam? The Advaitam is there. So simple. So why are all these other philosophers so confused with Dvaitam? And they are not able to liberate themselves. This is what Shankaracharya is asking. This is what the process of inquiry tells us. Liberate yourself. Come on. It's a very simple process. Sadvaitam dukkhitaha. The Sadvaitam means with duality, you're always in sorrow. You cannot drop sorrow with the identification with the body or mind. You cannot, or the world. Suppose you see the world and say, this is real and this is what it is. This is the truth. Looking extrovert, you can never be liberated. You can work 100 years. We can work many lives. Nothing is going to happen if you keep on looking at Dvaitam as the truth. That is what is the essence which Vidyaranya is trying to say. It's a very important lesson for all of us. He's bringing the entire Advaita principle in this 4th verse. This is one of the important verses of this entire 26 verses of the 10th chapter. This verse and the 20th verse of this are very, very important. Two verses of this chapter. Mind is today trained to divide the subject and the object. Understand this very clearly. The knower and the known are getting divided at the mind level, at the intellect level. At the truth level, there is no division. At the consciousness level, awareness level, there is no division. So this division is apparent. It is seeming. That pure consciousness, when it gets identified with the eyes, it becomes the seer. It becomes the knower of the form and color, which is an apparent division. It is not the truth. The truth is the principle of awareness is only one. Like one light appears when it goes through a prism, you get 7 colors. Similarly, one light of consciousness, when it goes through the 5 sense organs, it sees the 5 different sense objects in the world. And in sleep, what happens? These 5 rays, they come back to the mind, and the mind resolves in consciousness. So the division of subject-object is apparent, seeming, and the truth is awareness, pure being. I am rich, I am male, I am female. These are all adhyasas. I, the pure being, Connected with the body, I become male or female. Without the body, who am I? I am a pure being. That pure being is called as reality because it is real. Consciousness is real. Connected with the body is the bank account. Connected with the bank account, I, the pure being, through adhyasa, superimposition, I become rich or poor. Without that bank account, I exist as the pure being. So don't look at yourself as a particular individual. Try to look at yourself as the general consciousness, which is what is described in the first verse of the Ishavasya Upanishad. Ishavasyam idagam sarvam yatkincha jagatam jagat tena taktena bhunjita magrita kasya siddhanam. Very beautiful verse. It talks about the pure being as the one which is pervading the entire universe. The whole universe is clothed by this consciousness. Meditate on this consciousness as your true being. It becomes the whole Brahman is nothing, is the entire one consciousness becomes this entire creation. That is what is called as Brahman. So when I know I am that consciousness, I can say, Aham Brahmasmi. I am that one universal life, which is there in every being. It is not different. Infinite plus one is equal to infinite. Ultimately, whether the body is there or not, consciousness is always there. That is what is the Mahavakyam. So the manyness which we see apparently because of the sense organs is unreal. It is an appearance. Chaitanyam is the content of the universe, content of this body, and it is hidden, but it is the real. That is one. Hiranmayena patrena satyasya pihitam mukham. This is a very beautiful verse of the Ishavasya Upanishad, the 15th mantra. Here, the seeker at the end prays to the Surya Bhagavan and looks at the sun as the real God and addresses the sun God and says, please remove your golden lid. It is too bright. It is too shining for me. I can't see you. But I am the practitioner of truth. I hold you as consciousness in my body. I want to see your nature, pure being. You are there in me and you are there, I know. Please remove this veiling. That is the seeker who wants to remove that ignorance and go to the core of his personality. Each one of us can have this prayer to the sun, address the same prayer. Oh Lord Sun, please remove your covering of this brightness and let me know what is your real nature. Because without the sun, there is no living being possible on this earth. So for me, the sun is just an example of that pure consciousness, manifestation of that consciousness. If I want to pray to some consciousness, consciousness is formless. But I want to have some connection. So the Surya Bhagavan becomes a Devata. In the ancient Vedic culture, the sun was God. The glory of sun is the glory of consciousness. That glory is hidden today in this Atma because of my mind, ignorance in my mind. I remove the ignorance and I'm one with the Atma. So world which we see is nothing else, but it is name and form. Just a pair of opposites. Anything which you look at the world, it's only a pair of opposites. It's just a name and a form. Form includes sound and other things, all the five sense objects. But the real existence is the true nature of the whole universe and about the nature of my own self. We take by habit, we take the experiences, appearances as real, but when we learn the scriptures, we understand that the truth is nirdvandaha. Nyayasya nitya sannyasi yona dveshina kanchati nirdvando hi mahabaho sukham bandhat pramachyate. Drop this duality and see the truth. We will go through this a little bit deeper next week, the fourth verse. So I will stop here. Next week, we'll start with this next slide, which is this one, Traigunya Vishaya Vedaha. And we'll continue the verse and we'll go on to the next verse. And with that, we'll finish the introduction part. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudacchade Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyade. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, is there any questions from the group? I don't see anything on the chat. You can unmute yourself and you can ask the question. You can raise your hand. I can ask somebody to ask if there's, you can unmute yourself now, yeah? Okay, any questions from the group? Yeah, who is it?
Malati, no questions.
Yeah, Malati, yeah, please go ahead, yeah.
No questions. Brahmanandam Paramasukhadam.
Okay, very good. I'm very happy to hear that. Very good. Was the meditation good?
Yeah, too good. That's why it's too good.
Yes. You see, these meditations are very powerful, very, very powerful, especially when you base it on the Upanishads. It becomes extremely powerful because you get a direction of how to think in your mind and how to go deep into your Atma. That's why I chose this. The first verse of the Aitareya Upanishad is a marvelous verse, and this is the first. Mantra which is discussed in chapter 5 of the Panchadasi. How Prajnanam Brahma is described. It's a very beautiful section of the Upanishads, and all senior seekers, you should. After we do chapter 5, you will understand the significance of the Mahavakyas. Just wait for the 5th chapter. You will really love the sessions because they are very powerful. I mean, I have not found any literature which is so powerful and so concise and so well presented by Vidyaranya in such a small number of verses, about 8-9 verses. He can present the entire Upanishads and teach us how to be with ourselves, you see. Okay, any other questions from somebody else? Yeah, Shama, tell me.
Namaste, Shekharji.
Yeah.
The question is about, so before even we become a realized soul, which is still a very far-fetched, the gnani or the realized or the sthita prajna, which is of course wonderful. It will be wonderful. But even before that, so it looks like that the spiritual seeking is more and more we are progressing to find that one single satyam, which is the Brahma.
Yes.
Yeah. And during this process, so we are essentially truth seeking. Yeah.
Yeah.
And over a period of time, this truth seeking will lead us to truth speaking. So in all our vyavahara, within myself and outside myself, which I am dealing with, I will be speaking from a place of satyam,
Yes, yes.
So within my own internal language, speaking means is two, isn't it?
Yes, I agree with you.
It's an internal as well as external.
Yes.
And then, you said something about becoming and being. So where all the time in our vyavaharika or our everyday life, we are working through a place of we are somebody, isn't it? We are
yes, yes.
At different situations, we are different.
Yes.
People. So we are from moving from a state of becoming to being. So
yes,
the whole shift is from
becoming to being.
So we essentially have to reach a stage of when I'm nobody. Yeah?
It is not a nobody, it is everybody.
Okay, so that is one point clear. Okay.
Yeah, it's everybody because all the bodies are there in this consciousness.
Yeah. So
don't think that I am nobody. You should think I am everybody.
Yeah, no, that is correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I correct myself. No, I'm
okay.
not nobody, but I'm everybody. That's
yes.
really what the truth will be.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and until that happens, my true viveka buddhi will not happen, isn't it?
Yes.
So I'm asking out, this is a slight catch-22 question here, what comes first, So more jnanam, learning Vedas, scriptures, more jnanam, knowledge, more is the viveka, and the more the viveka, the more even our behavior is changing, isn't it?
Yes.
But the ultimate viveka will not happen, that discrimination, until we have realized the final truth.
We are clearing all the doubts slowly. It will happen. We are just removing the dirt. We are clearing the mirror.
Correct.
Every session of ours is just clearing the mirror.
I can see that.
And the more we clear, the suddenly it will happen. It just happens all of a sudden. Yeah, hey, I can see the truth. I've got it's no longer a glimpse. It is the reality.
Yeah. So
it happens.
Yeah. And in this little process, what is interesting is about, kalpa and sankalpa.
Yes.
Yeah. So kalpa is where in our thoughts and imagination, we are thinking, I am this one and I'm that one, so we are imagining. So that is kalpa. But as we learn scriptures, we are more and more firmly sankalpa, that is getting more established.
Right.
That I know I want to do this. So sankalpa becomes a dhrida buddhi. Yeah.
Yes.
Now the final question which I have is about who is the seeker and who is the knower. Within this process, who is the seeker and who is the knower? The
seeker is the ego I. The knower I is the Atma.
Okay. Right. And they too have to finally become.
They have to learn to see each other. The ego I is the seeker. The knower I is the real Sakshi. So that is what the first verse of the Aitareya Upanishad is trying to bring out the difference. Is it the self which is attached with the sense organs? Is that the real self? Or is it the knower self which is the Sakshi, which is the consciousness, which is Prajnanam? So that is what is the first question which all the seekers, wise seekers have got together, and they are asking the Guru, which is the real self? Is it the ego I which is attached to the sense organs and seeing the world? Or is it the knower self, which is the consciousness which knows that I am seeing, I am thinking, I am tasting? When I'm tasting, which is that one which knows that the body is tasting? That is the Sakshi which knows.
Right.
So the knower, when I use the knowing principle in the first verse, the knower, the term knower there means Sakshi.
Correct.
It is the consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And in the second, I'm just giving you in the second verse itself of that Aitareya Upanishad. If you go through the Aitareya Upanishad, the first 3 verses, just 3 verses, you will find that in the second verse, the Guru says that whatever the mind is thinking, it is, he gives about 26 or 30 different thoughts which are possible in the mind. Very big analysis of all the thoughts which happen in the mind.
My God.
Sankalpa, Vikalpa, you see, there are so many things which a mind thinks about. So I'll just tell you just I'll just tell you in a minute. So in this verse, in the third, third section, the second verse, so there he says that this mind it has got retentive power. Okay, now this is the second verse of the Aitareya Upanishad. And it says that it has got understanding. This mind has got understanding. It has got intelligence. It has got knowledge. It has got the power or capacity to remember. It can import all the books in the world. It can import in its own brain. It's got an insight. It has got firmness. It has got perseverance. It has got the ability to think. It is independent of thinking also. It is mental depression. It is memory. It is collection of all imaginations. All imaginations are possible. Resolution, firmness, love, attachment, ambition. So many different aspects of consciousness. All this, the Guru says, is names of consciousness.
Incredible, beautiful, beautiful.
Whatever I've described is not conscious. They are only names of consciousness. It's like Shama having another name, Pushpa or Malati or some other name. That's all.
Yeah, this is where the confusion comes about.
Yes.
Because even the consciousness which you perceive, you feel, it is this, it is that, when none of this is true. Oh, goodness.
And then in the third mantra, he says that this is Brahman and this is Indra, this is Prajapati, this is the gods, this is all the 5 elements, this is this consciousness is the creatures which you see right from, which are egg born, which are womb born, which are sweat born, which are earth born. It is this consciousness which is the trees, which is the horses, which is the elephants, which is the ants. It is the moving, it is the flying, it is the immovable. All this is guided by one consciousness. They are supported by one consciousness. The universe has a consciousness as a guide. It is the basis for the entire universe. Prajnanam Brahma. This is how the third verse ends.
Amazing, amazing.
These three verses are absolutely fantastic. They can open up the mind. It can remove so much of my doubts. I'll be doing these verses when I do the 5th chapter of the Panchadasi. I mean, you just preempted the whole Panchadasi 5th chapter session today itself. So, but anyway, it's just to give you a preamble of how this whole world is nothing but this pure consciousness.
If you will just permit me and my fellow participants, please, just one last thing. Until that state at which, I am a realized soul, until then, we are continuously living in my Jagrat state on two separate levels. One is my material Vyavaharika level, and the other one is my spiritual self. I can just see that.
Yes.
And of course, in my prayer and meditation, I'm totally into the spiritual self. But otherwise, in all my Vyavaharika, I can see that I'm in two different levels operating. Like I'm talking to you, I am in that Sakshi state as well as I'm talking and I'm to you. Yeah. Now, when you are with people who are spiritually minded, it is absolute joy, because obviously there is no, you're on a similar wavelength. My question is, how best can I use this knowledge that, much as I like to believe, and sometimes it's a trouble when I'm so much in my joyous state of seeing the whole Bhuta as myself, there are times when you're in that very nice spiritual mood, where actually there is no difference. However, Bhuta, the rest is all right. But when it comes to human beings, Manushya, there is a slight problem at the Vyavaharika level. Because if I, for example, start assuming that because we are the same, I almost start operating that what I think you're thinking the same ways, but actually it is not true. And this can apply to my very closest of people, like my son, my sister, my husband, whatever.
Yeah.
So, where you almost start functioning from that point, where you feel, to me, it looks so simple. So I almost feel it must look equally same, but it gets very confusing.
Yeah, this is a very, very
troublesome area.
No, it is a question which is asked by all the seekers who are in the path. And usually what happens is that till you are in the path, this will keep troubling you. We are still in the path. Our ignorance is still not gone 100%. So the moment the ignorance goes away 100%, then we will get a little bit more control of these doubts. We get these doubts and we are not able to face it because our ignorance is still there. It is still lurking somewhere in the corners of our minds. There is still lurking the tendency of the mind to think that the world is real.
Okay.
So these are all the small, projections of the mind which keep still troubling us. And this will not come to an end because you should note that knowledge cannot eliminate prarabdha karma. You see, our life will still be going on with the external world because our prarabdha karma is still there, which is projecting through the mind. So don't worry if you have to deal with the world. When you're dealing with the world, you think in your mind that it is my prarabdha karma which is getting exhausted.
Right. For example, that my prarabdha karma from my previous samskara is that my sense of duty is so overpowering.
It will be for all of us.
That it actually precludes the general common sense of what you can see, this detachment that like I cannot be responsible for what is happening to my mother or my sister.
No, you have to be. You see, nobody can get rid of the duties in life. That is what is the first thing. That is what is called as prarabdha karma. Prarabdha karma means you cannot get rid of it. So whenever you are looking at any activity which the body is doing, you say it's the body going through prarabdha through for this. As soon as I wake up in the morning, you say it is the body which is going through its prarabdha. Whatever it will go through, it will go through. That's all. Accept it. Accept it as God's will.
No, that's no problem. The problem is, how do you know that this is how far I should go or I can go? This Vivek Buddhi is zero. It's terrible.
No, it is not zero. This is the way you see, like I said, that there is still some ignorance in the corners of the intellect, which is creating these thoughts and troubling us.
Like Arjuna.
Yeah. Till the 18th chapter, Arjuna was still asking question, 66th verse, Arjuna is still asking, and then Lord is asking him, Arjuna, has your doubts gone? And if Arjuna had said that there is no, I have still one more question left, Arjuna, Lord Krishna would have started from the first chapter all over again. he has a great compassion, you see. He would have repeated all the 18 chapters one more round. But Arjuna said, my doubts are gone. I will do my duty. I will fight. I will fight the life. Whatever life brings to me, I will face it. Yeah. So as you face your life, tell yourself, my body, I have surrendered to the Ishvara, which is the Lord of the universe. It is Ishvara who will take care of this body and its duties in this life.
Yeah.
I am free. I am, with the Lord's teaching, I have become free.
Yeah.
It is, I surrendered to the Lord. I have given the body and the mind, I have given it to the Lord. And now the Lord, let him take care, let him go through the motion of the duties, and that's all. At your mind, have only one thought, I am free.
Yeah. Until then, I'm very happy that I'm amidst co-spiritual seekers. Can you imagine a life?
Yeah, because your ego is still not allowing you to surrender to the Lord and say that the body, let it be surrendered. That is what Ashtavakra Gita, 18 chapters of Ashtavakra Gita, where Yajnavalkya, the teacher, Ashtavakra, the teacher, the Guru says there, Ashtavakra Guru, and he tells the King Janaka there that there is only one thing you have to do. Just surrender yourself. 18 chapters are of only surrender. That's all. And then he says, okay, whatever the King Janaka says, the whole city is on fire. So what? It doesn't affect me.
Wonderful.
Okay. Any other question? Deepak, you're just back.
Yes, no, I've been in and out. Sorry, I've just, but I've been listening to your.
Okay, very good.
Lecture.
Okay.
So I just wanted to ask, in this somewhere you had in the rope and snake, you had somewhere I got the feeling that the rope is the self. The analogy is the rope as the self on which there is
yes, rope is the substratum. It is the self. The three states of consciousness, waking, dream, and sleep, are only the rope snake.
Rope snake. Now, I was just listening to you very carefully, and this is regarding the concept of Lord vis-a-vis Brahman.
Yes.
And the concept of the Sakshi Bhava and the surrender. You surrender. So, so my whole approach has been that, yes, I do surrender to the Supreme Consciousness, because there is a controller and there is a power that sort of manages this entire visible universe or my dream, whatever it is. And I'm uncomfortable with the Lord part of it somewhere. I mean, because that sort of gives it, there is one supreme man or a person or a, but when you say all pervasive consciousness, the Brahman as an idea resonates with me.
Yes.
So that's one point that I have a little mental block in my mind on that. That's the first part. The second is that my Sakshi, I'm trying my best, but I have been an utter failure because I have gone through certain recently occasions where my grief and my despair have caused me immense pain and anguish, and I have not been able to detach that sakshi, so-called sakshi, to those anguish and pain that I underwent in this last 1.5 years. And there have been multiple incidences where I've been fairly detached, but I just became very emotional. So
Yes.
that's why I realized that even the sakshi, unless there is, you constantly sort of have a third person perspective, consciously sort of this conscious awareness, third person, because still the mind playing itself, unless there is some paradigm shift that takes place, that sort of you start seeing this world in a three-dimensional effect. But till then, it is a mind, and you're trying to segregate the mind experiencing this world and not being attached to it. And that's why we become hopelessly, consciously trapped into the subject-object, this thing. So, that's the problem that I'm facing. Even though I'm now fully aware and I've been working on it, but I do fail miserably. And the recent past have given me a bit of a shock that, with all the knowledge, I have succumbed to the pain and anguish of people that I have witnessed. I have friends dying. I've had occasions that people have suffered, and it caused me huge mental this thing, because I saw real, and Shamaji would, as a doctor, would have
I relating 100%.
Every day.
Yes.
I 100% relate with you, Deepak ji. I 100%. My heart goes out to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, this is Deepak. What you are facing is common for all of us today.
Yeah.
We may not be expressing it in so many words as you have expressed it, as Shama has expressed it last week. All of us are in the same boat. Each one of us has lost people, a relative, a friend, a cousin. So much pain has been caused in our lives.
Yeah.
And it is a pain which has come all of a sudden at one time to all of us. You see, it's in the last 1.5 years, the mind had to undergo tremendous suffering. Tremendous suffering. It is not only the pain of grief, it is also a pain of daily living, because every day when you wake up, you're only bombarded with COVID.
Yeah.
We are talking about COVID the whole day. The media is talking about COVID the whole day. The TV, the news, the friends, anybody. Have you taken this vaccination? Have you taken that vaccination? Should we take, our mind has been completely extroverted, and we are not being able to focus. So I am totally aware of your condition of the mind. My only advice at this stage is let it go through. Let it go through. Don't push yourself. Let life go on. Whatever way I can absorb it, let me absorb it as God's will. This is what God wills today. I will accept it. This is what I have learned in my life. Taking all the grief which I experience, all the sorrow in life which I experience, I take it as it's God's will. I will do it. I will have to accept it. And in those times, I may not be able to have Sakshi Bhava. Nobody can have. When the mind is in turmoil, there is no way we can think about Sakshi Bhava. No way. It's not possible. It is human mind is suffering. It's looking at duality. At that time, it's okay. Don't bring the Sakshi Bhava. When the mind is quiet, it will come back to this knowledge. Let it happen in due course of time. Let it happen. Don't worry about when it will happen. It will happen sometime. Don't be anxious, don't be perturbed, just let the life go on. Let it go on, let it go on, just accept and let it go on, and don't worry about other things which you are learning. And whenever it happens, let it happen, it will come. When the knowledge has to happen, it will happen.
Just one little thought, if I may say, sir. And just really responding to what Deepaji has described, and I so absolutely resonate with just his thoughts and his sentiments. So I just have an idea which is cropping up in my mind, and I just want to share it. And that is, it should be a wonderful, I have a very, very deep interest in healing, full stop, you know, which was part of my being a family physician. I've done it for so many years. And I have actually done a lot of psychology and a lot of work in that. And I just wanted to offer this, especially for my spiritually minded, inclined friends, that I have my own Zoom account. And if anybody, it's just really, it'll be something which I've been wanting to do for a very long time, because I believe in spiritual healing. And it's almost like, you know, it just gets a little disturbed. And if you can fairly quickly, you know, you're able, and you talked about the third person, you know, so you're already two people inside. It should be so wonderful to think of another third person, you know, who is like, can be just anybody, you know, and I am happy to offer really to become that third person if anybody wishes to this thing. I'm absolutely, I just wanted to say it in the open platform that, yeah, I'd be happy to meet anybody on that spiritual healing. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, anybody else has a question? Rohit? Okay.
No, Shivji. I don't have any questions.
Okay. Are you enjoying the Panchadasi?
Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
Actually, a lot of I kind of understand what you're teaching now at a much deeper level than I did at the time.
Yes.
Last time. So I don't really have much of doubts as such.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Rohit is one of my earliest students of this group, and a very young person who joined this group, I think at the age of 24. Rohit, am I right? 26. Okay. No, when you joined, you were 26.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So he's been six, 7 years with me, and he has gone through all the texts which we have done in this group. All the Upanishads, and you know, right from almost all, the whole of Gita, whole of Upanishad, including Brahma Sutra. Wow. So he's one of the very inspiring person who can motivate a lot of youngsters, you know, into this study. Okay, if there are no other questions, we'll close for the day, and then we'll continue next week.
I think Malti had some question.
Yeah, Malti, you tell me. Yeah.
She put her hand down. Malti.
I just wanted to ask. I just wanted to ask: is it better to surrender to God as His will, or is it better to think that it is just like a dream and we don't have to worry about that? What is the better way?
Yeah, it is. It's a very beautiful question. The answer is it depends. It depends on your knowledge of the scriptures. You see, if your knowledge of the scriptures is there, then you can say it is a dream. But many of us who don't have the knowledge of the scriptures, for them, you should say it is God's will. To a common man, if you want to be compassionate and you want to share the grief with him, the best way to tell him is, this is what God wants today. What I want may be different. What I want is my own likes and dislikes. In this world, the world doesn't go according to my likes and dislikes. It goes according to somebody else's likes and dislikes. There is a supreme power.
Yes, then there comes the Dvaita comes there.
Yes, yes, that is what all philosophies, you see, the moment you start talking to a person with knowledge of the scriptures is totally different. And to a person without the knowledge of the scriptures, very different. So you have to understand, and there are certain times, even with the knowledge, the grief is so bad, it can completely wheel all the knowledge, which I may have gathered for 20 years or 30 years, Suddenly you will find that all the knowledge which I have gathered is all wheeled completely from me. This happens in life. All the knowledge, nothing strikes except the grief. I miss the person. I miss the person. What is this life? How can I live? Because your body identification becomes extremely high. You're looking at the other person as a body. You cannot but relate yourself as the body. Because you are seeing the other as a body, you relate yourself as a body, you are the seer. There's nothing, don't go beyond to anything else. At that time, just live the life. Let the life go on and let time take care of the grief. It is Kala Deva. It is that Devata which is operating in the form of time, which is the healer for all of us. There's nobody else can heal this. The same person, after 2 years, you can talk to him, his mind has calmed down. At that time, you can talk about other things, but there are times when no Vedanta will work. Just follow the Dharma. At that time, just follow Dharma. This is the Dharma of the body. Let me take care of the duty which I have to do today.
Perfect. Perfect.
Okay, so this is where Dharma, there are 4 Purusharthas: Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. At these times, follow Dharma. At certain times, you followed Artha, you followed Kama. At certain time, you followed Moksha. But this is not the time for Moksha. This is the time for Dharma. Okay?
Perfect.
Good. I'm glad all these questions have made us think better. Thank you and good night.
Thank you.
Good night.